the individual. And secondly, that in an organized society where decisions are taken in a democratic manner, the preferred course is to engage in a process of dialogue where the issues being agitated are political and they are agitated in the political arena. The domain is political. I will, in my presentation, I will revert to these two conclusions and try to weave it in my submissions to you. The distinguished Professor Devinder Singh has also made that the issue of security and human rights perhaps can be tackled a little more constructively and positively, provided the politicians, the decision makers, are sincere. There is an implication, and I might say a justified implication, that most of the problems relating to the security or human rights can be traced to the doorstep of the politicians and the rulers. And the second important point that he made was that in the ultimate analysis, there may not be a ready-made prescription for tackling this issue, but in the ultimate analysis, the solution can be found only through people. That means through mobilization of public opinion and the organization of civil society. He also mentioned something about faith, surrenders, etc., etc. Now, before I proceed, I would have expected that we will have more of security personnel here. I would have expected the police chief. I see a very youthful-looking retired chief of our police force. And his presence in all such occasions shows an inherent innate commitment on the part of a citizen to sensitize himself to the problems of the state. I would have expected that our people, whether from Army or BSF or CRP, or the police bureaucracy would be here. Some of us suffer from a hallucination that we know all, or we don't know, need to know anything more than what we do. And that could be a part of the problem. These seminars are organized, fortunately, by academic institutions or think tanks, not just for the sake of idle exercise of fantasy. They are meant to illuminate, educate, and provide guidance to those who make the decisions or implement the decisions taken at the higher level. And I can assure you that what I say here, I will say in the concerned quarters also, that next time there is a seminar of this character, there must be a greater participation of the people whose occupation and duty is to concern themselves with the issues which are being debated here. It is my habit that whenever I am invited to or I am privileged to speak on a subject, I don't make any intellectual preparation. The problem with intellectual preparation is that you get into too many cobwebs. And your gut feelings about a subject and your spontaneous thoughts get clouded by your craftily engineered responses. Yesterday at 11:30, I watched a program on BBC World. It was about the fate, the tragic fate of about 1 billion children in the world. I don't know how many of you watched that program. I'm sure Mr. Khajuria must have. 1 billion children in the world are endangered, imperiled by a human condition characterized by deprivation, poverty, hunger, and violation of their human rights. I think if they could have added, human rights are violated by our customs, our laws, and the way we dispense with the process of governance and justice in our society. Particularly in this program, they focused on 2 children, one from Israel and one from Palestine. The child from Palestine had been injured in a bomb blast. And when they asked him, how did he feel? He said, I can't sleep at night. I wake up tired and depressed and fatigued and depressed. The child from Palestine said many things. What I remember is this. He said, I go to the cemetery where those who were my friends are no more. I cry, but sometimes I don't feel anything. And he pondered over this statement. Sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't feel anything. Now the political loyalties of these 2 children are separate, but their tragic fate is common. And we all over the world are called upon, those of us who are not too busy amassing wealth or pursuing our separate agendas of career or ideology, those of us who are alive to their own conscience have to ponder over these issues. The perennial tension between the security of society, security of individuals, security of society, security of state. The perennial tension between the compelling need to keep a society or a state secure and stable on the one hand, whether it is in Spain, whether it is in Chechnya, whether it is in Naxalites, whether there are people in the Northeast, whether there are people in Jammu and Kashmir. There are some people who are indoctrinated. There is some ideology. In the context of Kashmir, there is an ideology of a pan-Islamic state. There is a pan-Islamic social order, religious order all over the world. Maybe 5 to 10% people are driven by that vision. In other words, ideas move them. So those ideas have been implanted in schools or madrasas or families or wherever is a subject on which one can have a separate discussion. But they are told, usually they come from very poor strata of society. They are taken into schools, madrasas, and they are provided uniforms twice a year. And they are told, initially, speak truth, be good, obey God, obey elders. They teach him the right kind of things. Then at a later stage they say, look, what is your condition? You are poor, you are orphan, you can't afford this, that, etc. And why? Because there is injustice done on you. By who? Your own government. Why? Your government is an agent of Satan. Whether it is America, whether it is Europe, whether they are Christians, whether they are Jews, whether they are Hindus.